Turf TV are very lucky today. We're at the home of rugby, world rugby, let alone English rugby. We're at Twickenham with head groundsman Keith Kent. Keith, firstly, thanks very much. We know you're very busy in the build-up to a World Cup, which is starting here on the 18th of September. Rolling back a bit though, you didn't actually start out in rugby. I think you started out at Leicester City, served, I think, was it 17 years there?
17 years at Leicester City, yes.
And then moved on to some great times, I'm sure, at Manchester United with Alex Ferguson there. Was he manager, I guess, for your entire career there?
My entire career, yes. He got there a year before I got there in 86. I got there in 87.
So a lot of success. I guess the Sky years have been a big part of your football career, and you saw some changes there. But what I'd like to focus on is the rugby side of things, especially with the World Cup right on the doorstep here. What drew you to take this role here at Twickenham and tempted you away from Old Trafford? Because that must have been one hell of a thing to pull you away.
It was, and it was something I wasn't expecting or wanting to do. The RFU approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in coming to the Twickenham Stadium. And United were playing away in Europe, and I thought it'd be rude of me not to, so I came for an interview.
Right.
And I came down and I fell in love with the stadium. It's fantastic. And I spoke with Richard Knight, my director, who told me about the plans for the stadium, the new South Stand, the introduction of rock and roll concerts and one or two other bits and bobs. But the thing that really got me, the hook, was that he said to me, what we'd like is you to go out into the game and help the local clubs all over the country.
Wow, okay.
And I drove home, and it's a good four and a half hour drive, and all that time that was the hook.
Okay.
And I thought I could have one hell of a job here at the home of rugby, seeing all the big games, but also travelling the country, helping the little people and helping the clubs to play rugby on better surfaces.
Well, you're very high profile in what you put back into the game, and the fact that was an attraction is a credit to you. There are obviously some real key differences between the world of football and the world of rugby, just in terms of, one, I guess the finances involved with the Premier League, two, some of the personalities and maybe the demands on a football coach as opposed to a rugby coach, and your relationship with managers and those guys above, I guess, is somewhat different.
Yes, it is. The England managers, every England manager I've got on really well with. They're very, very professional, and if you approach them and ask them not to do such and such, or can they use the far side of the pitch, they are very amenable. And the rugby players are very, very polite, very, very knowledgeable. They understand things about pitches, and somehow they understand the weather better. If it's been chucking it down with rain all week, they expect the pitch to be wet. And with our new pitch, if it's dry, they compliment you. They say, wow, okay, this is drained well. Whereas in football, it's almost a cocooned living, and the players play on the best surfaces every week now, it seems.
Yeah.
And the training facilities, which to the credit of the football clubs, the training facilities are out this world in comparison to the day I started work at Leicester City. The machinery, the drainage and the technology is 45 years on.
And in terms of the day-to-day job, apart from the kind of the whole circus that surrounds football and rugby, what are the key differences in looking after a rugby pitch to a football pitch at the highest level?
There is not that much different, because the basics are the same. The basics are the same, that we need it to drain, we need to present it well, and we need it to play well. In football, they play on a shorter cut grass, something around 25 millimetres. We can play up to 40 millimetres in height in grass, because the ball is not rolling. The players are running about. What they're after is traction. So the drier surface I can give them for the ball to be dry in the hand and also underfoot, so that they can keep the traction, and then the game is much quicker and much better as a spectacle.
So the key difference is the football pitch is wet.
Yes.
And your rugby pitch is dry, yeah?
Yeah, when I was at Old Trafford, we had some fantastic wingers, and we wanted them to have the ball fizzing about.
Yeah.
So we used to irrigate as much as we could, so that the grass was wet and the ball was slick. And when you've got Giggsy or Kanchelskis running at you, you're frightened to death. So that's the difference.
So there's a good analogy there is in terms of football. Is there anything you can do to a pitch that may favour one team over another? I'm not suggesting you have done.
Would I? In football, the only thing you may do is irrigate up to half time or during half time, but other than that, not really. It's the same for both sides, and I think that's what's so good about the FA Cup is that you can be playing away at the back of beyond, and you're the biggest team in England, but you've got to play on that pitch, and it's a good leveller.
A moment ago, you referred to the developments in technology. 45 years on, what do you think have been the key technology advances that you've seen over the years of professional groundsmanship?
Perhaps threefold. One, the technology and the knowledge now of sand.
Right.
When I was a kid, we put lots and lots of sand on pitches, and I didn't really know why we were doing it.
Okay.
Now we've got to such a stage that we know what shape the sand is, what size the sand is, and exactly in what position in the profile the sand should be. So that is a vast step forward.
Okay.
The other thing is aeration. The invention of the vertidrain and the new Wiedemann machines, some of the Sysis equipment, the slitters. I could fill the stadium with spikers, and that is a big step forward. When I was a kid, we used to spike the pitch with a Sysis outfield once a month with a slitter. Now you could do it once a month with a vertidrain or a Wiedemann, and we know what it's doing and why it's doing. So aeration is the other big thing.
Okay. And
the biggest boon in the whole of the game in the last 20 years has been the lighting systems.
Right, okay.
The SGL lighting system, I first saw it in Sunderland 2003, January.
Right.
And I was absolutely amazed. They'd got it on an 18-yard box, and the 18-yard box had 95% grass coverage, and it was January. And I think the groundsman was feeding it with a 12.09 in January.
Good grief.
Yes, and it was like, wow. And I think that is perhaps, that's turned a key that we could manage pitches better. I mean, you get to December and January, and the worst months of the year, the three worst months of the year, December, January and February, they're not as daunting as they used to be because you've got the light at the end of the tunnel.